Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Namaskar. This is the most tiring period in an academician's day, I would say, because after the lunch, we academicians generally tend to relax. And what we saw in Three Idiots, characterized by Viru Shatra Budre, we can only have, a 3 minute nap in which we can hear the music, South Carnatic music, as well as go for a shave. Anyway, Madam Chennamma said that personality development and all this stuff is now a mandatory requirement in the Atal series that you and I were undergoing. So she ordered me that you jolly well take a subject called personality development perspectives to our distinguished participants. And I said, fine. I said, give me a second half. And she has been gracious enough to give me 1.5 hours from 2:30 to 4 o'clock. I don't know whether I'll be finishing at 4 o'clock or so because uh, there are so many things to talk, so many things to learn as well as unlearn from personality development, right? So I thought that on the cover slide, that is the first slide, I should show some sort of personalities, which all these cartoons are there. Uh, throughout the time yesterday and today, you are all studying about forensics, signatures, this, that. I thought that let's make it more hilarious, more light, and let's enjoy, let's laugh. Okay. This is a beautiful quotation which has been ingrained in my mind, ladies and gentlemen. It's winners are never disheartened, right? With obstacles. You see the YouTube, uh, one pole vault lady athlete, she ran with her pole vault. She tried to jump. Her pole vault stick broke. She was in jitters, she was in tears, what to do? Her Olympic chance is gone. She has been waiting for this day for the last 4 years. So immediately the one who was competing with her, right? She came and she told, take my stick, take my pole, go for the jump. And ladies and gentlemen, the first athlete she jumped and she broke not only the Olympic record, the world record, but also the record that was held by her opponent. And her opponent was never disheartened. Winners always find out a way, like water, air, and winners. You can't stop them. They will find out their way to just move out, right? So, in life, never ever call it quits. Never ever call it quits. Because if all the doors are closed, there will be one door which will definitely be open. And if it is not open, kind courtesy Mother Nature or kind courtesy Lady Luck, just take out your spade and dig a door in which you can move out. So winners always find out the way because in English we all have read in metric where there is a will, there is a way. Now, what happens is that there is an obstacle. Now, how do you encounter this obstacle? How do you cross this obstacle? You can only cross this obstacle if you know how to deal with that obstacle, right? And in the army, we are deliberately given obstacles during our entry time, during our selection recruitment time. They test us how do we jump across the obstacles and how do we tackle the obstacle. Because in the word obstacle, the second half reads tackle. So you have to tackle that obstacle. And the first word is OBS. OBS stands for observation. So you have to observe what is that and then you have to tackle it. That is why in HR, OB model, there is a concept known as ODA, OODA. Observe, orient, decide, and act. So don't blame Lady Luck. Don't blame your, enemies. Because of him, this happened. I was coming. That black cat, came across my way. That fellow was sweeping the road, and I saw his or her face for the first time. No. These are all superstitions. Winners don't care about superstitions. They read about superstitions just to draw lessons and to have a hearty laugh. So winners always find out a way. They are not disheartened, and they lead by example. That is the mark of a human being or a leader or an entrepreneur or a manager or an officer or you and I in general. We lead by example. We try to imbibe others, learn the good things of others. Why? Because others have experienced good things, they have a methodology, they have followed a methodology, they have arrived at results, and they have shown us the world. For example, Ahimsa, right? So, and we set our own examples because whatever we set as examples, our students, our children, and our family members, they imbibe, right? Whatever the manner in which we act and react, our students in the class, they are the best observers. Remember, the number of students observing you in the class, since all of us are academicians, the number of students observing you in the class is exactly equal to the number of brains that is interacting with you, and is exactly equal to the number of pair of eyes that are observing us, and is exactly congruent to the number of pairs of ears they are hearing, right? And again, you can also add as a corollary, it is exactly the number of mouths through which they are speaking out, voicing, airing, or giving out their opinion. Right. So, what is required is constant focus, like a convex mirror, convex lens. But on our own side, it is confidence. Ladies and gentlemen, whether you know or you don't know, if you have got confidence, be assured that now you know 50%, and now you are eager to learn the next 50% as to what you are going to teach or preach. So, see, in one quotation, we have learned so many things. So, personality development perspectives. What is personality? Personality is what we exhibit, as simple as that. Personality is how you, starting from how you comb your hair, what sort of hair you keep, till the last color of the socks that you're wearing, right? The way you are acting, the way you are reacting, the way you are handling things, the way you are communicating, the way you are gesturing. When you point out, whether you point out the index finger or you point out the small finger there, or you point out all the four fingers with one thumb folded inside. This is actually the main gesturing. When you point out with this. In Arabic world, they always point out with five fingers. They don't point like this. This is rude, right? So today we'll just observe. We'll just recapitulate. We all know what is personality. We all have what personality. I am 53 years old. I have developed some personality, which may be of liking to some, disliking to some, and neutral to many. Okay. So what we say? Go to hell with it. Or what we say? I don't care. If you're wearing a black pant with red socks and a yellow shirt, if I say, sir, this is not matching, to hell with you. This is my personality. I don't go by my dress. Okay. So it is actually, what is personality? Personality is actually a mental churning, a psychological perspective, a cognitive architecture, or a cognitive framework. And you know the beauty of nature. The beauty of nature is that via evolution we got to this earth. We became a member of the planet, and all the five sense organs are above our chin and below our scalp: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin. And skin, right? When we go to Missouri, when we go to Alaska, when we go to Antarctica, we cover our entire body. But we have our face open. Why? We enjoy the weather. That is the feeling, right? So all the five sense organs are between here, and they are all co-located along with the brain. So whatever personality or persona that we develop, the brain has got a very big role to play. It is just like the big brother, Pedana, or the big boss. Okay, so let's see what's in store. Why it is not changing? Nama ma'am, why is it not changing?
Hello?
Yeah, why is the slide not jumping?
No, it's there in the first slide only. Sir,
No, no.
just once again you press F5, you make it slideshow.
Where is F5? This is a scientific computer.
You press something has left the meeting. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ it was in editable mode. Please mute. Sir, it's mute. Unmute your mic.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. So what's personality? No, there is some problem. Is this? Yeah. So what's personality? I said, brain is there, skin, eyes, nose, ears, tongue, the five sense organs are there, our reactions are there, our gestures are there, our environment is there, the situation surrounding where we are, that is there, the family atmosphere is there. Now, what's personality? Personality is primarily improving and grooming one's outer as well as the inner aspects. What is outer? Outer means your own appearance, whether you are clean shaven or not, what is the length of your mustache, what is the hairstyle that you are maintaining, whether you are having a crop hairstyle or a mushroom these days, like they have a huge cabbage on their head. See, if I see on the road somebody having a huge cabbage on his head, like a haircut, and if he's driving a motorcycle, I say he is a bloody ruffian, a rowdy rascal, right? But if I see the same person as an athlete in the Olympics, I imbibe him. I say, look, champion of champions, gold medalist in this thing, but he has got same hairstyle. You see all sorts of hairstyles in football matches abroad, haircut like this, like this, like this, like this. For them, we don't say ruffian. Why? Because they are our idols. We are following them. So that's my perception. On the streets of Mysore, I say he's a rowdy, doesn't know how to keep his hair, doesn't know how to ride a motorcycle, an uncivilized, uncivic fellow. But there, if I see the fashion channel in the television and if I see such characters, oh my God, what sort of a beautiful hairstyle, signature hairstyle. That is what you say in forensic language, isn't it? Signature hairstyle. Anyway. To cut it short, it's primarily how to improve and groom yourself externally as well as internally. Externally, it's primarily your appearance, your cleanness, neatliness, your hygiene and all that, and also your body language. Your body language, if there is a smile on your face or a frown on your face, there might be some people who might be so devilish to look at, but they have a beautiful heart. You just sit down with them, you feel that you were wrong in assessing their facial features. They have a very soft heart, and you might be looking at a very handsome person, a very nice person, smiling, everything, but inside he might be the most crooked of all characters. That also is a very deceptive thing, which forensic experts, they really catch it. Okay. Body language, whether you are sitting with your palms open to the top or palms down, that is also there. Whether you are sitting like this in a defensive posture, that's your personality. If you're not confident, you sit like this because you want to take shelter behind a boundary, and that boundary is defined by yourself. You do like this. And if you are speaking with your hands open, that means you are a free, easygoing person. So that's your personality. And then internally, your emotions, your thinking abilities, your confidence, etc., attitude. See, there is a very big difference between attitude and aptitude. Aptitude is the knack for that. Attitude is whatever you have stored in that, reserved. It is predefined. And then you have your emotions. In the army, they say that throw your emotions as long as you are wearing the olive green uniform. You are being trained to protect your motherland, and in the bargain, if you have to shoot at the enemy, shoot. Don't say that Chachi Kohindi, after all, he was a human being. After all, he was the son of his father and the father of his son. Emotions have to be kept at a core. Personal example, we have lost our better halves. But that's it. That's a part of the game. So anyway. So what is required is that you ought to bring about a positive change to life. Life always doesn't go in the desired manner. It doesn't go along the path that we carve. If it was so, then everybody would have gone and taken a visit to the space and come back in the craft. So life has a trajectory of its own, and we can only mold it. Malleability and ductility. We can always give some shape to that trajectory, or that curvilinear path, linear path, or whatever is the case. But life always is not a bed of roses. Sometimes we have to encounter the thorns also. So what do? So we have to bring about some out of positivity. We have to inject, like the COVID injection, we have to give repeated, regular, intermittent injections of positivity jab through the course of life. That's how you develop your persona. Okay, if I'm crestfallen, if all the problems in the world are coming to me and shaking my hand and embracing me, and if I'm the most, gone case and the bygone case in this world, so it be. Nelson Mandela stayed for 26 years in the jail, but hats off to the old man. He still retained his vigor, mental vigor, and once he came out and when he became the president of his country, etc., the rest is history. Mahatma Gandhi also was thrown into jail a number of times. They have developed resilience, they have developed the art of resisting all the negativities and all the troubles that came to them. So it's a lesson learned that we have to bring out some positive change to life, because this life is defined, and what is the definition, what is the defined boundary of this life? The day we have taken birth, that we know. The day we will die, we do not know. So limit tends to infinity, and that infinity will be defined the day we are no more. God forbid, God give us a long life so that we can interact more. So whatever is the quantum of life, I always say that if I'm destined to live for 100 years, God forbid, I don't want to live, then I have completed my half time. I'm 53 now, right? If I have to live for one day more, today is the last day. If I have to live for 1 hour more, today this is the last hour. And if I am destined to die at 2:50, this is the last moment. So enjoy, right? So enjoy and keep track with good people. Okay, so every one of us, each one of us, like in forensics, they say that your thumb sign, your genetic structure, and the cognitive algorithm of your brain, they don't match with anyone else. It is totally distinct to each one of us, including they say that eye signature, but I have my doubts. So every person has a distinct persona. No two persona can be made to resemble. You cannot, like organ transplant, you can't transplant persona. You can't say ki now you from now you start behaving like this. Absolutely not. It is what we have received through the genes from our parents. It is what we have received from the society, from the situation, from our past experiences, and from our own mental algorithm, that we have developed for ourselves a distinct persona, right? You can patent your persona also. It is so powerful in singular form, and which can be developed, polished, and refined. You can always develop your personality. Okay, if Kalidasa could develop, polish, and refine his personality, why not you and I? Why not you and I? These are some of the lessons that we ought to learn from all this. On heroes in our fables, heroes in our mythological writings, and heroes from our religious texts and books. So this persona can be developed. For example, I'll tell you my own case. I was a very, very, very angry young man, not Amitabh Bachchan, Jay Satpathy, but very angry young man. I was very short-tempered. I had no control over my emotions or emotions, right? And in the army, I was, what I would say, it will be a very, very tall claim if I say that I was a self-styled Rambo when I was posted in the thick of insurgents and terrorism. Uh, that was the age. What to do? I was 26, 27 then, 25 years back. And that was the call of the duty. That was the requirement of the environment. And you had no emotions. Sorry, it was a direct love affair between you and the enemy. As simple as that. Enemy, whether inside the country or outside the country. It was a simple. And when we were going through the jungles, I'm telling you, that's the person I'm talking. When we were going through the jungles, we knew that the enemy is hiding somewhere inside. So it was some sort of a living relationship inside the jungle. We said, come over, embrace us, and let's play a game of bullets. So, and after that, today, at the age of 53, on the 21st of September 2021, I am totally changed. Slowly, I developed my keenness towards academics. I knew that when I retired from the army, in fact, I took a voluntary retirement, right, this year. I still had 5, 6, 7 years to go. Uh, Sometimes situations make you change. Take your own case study. When I was asked to write a case study by my university, I said, "Sir, can I do my own case study?" They said, "How can you do your own case study? You have to pick up some company and some CEO and some XYZ." I said, "Sir, why not my own case study? What sort of a person I was, what sort of person I am, and what I intend to be. And this is my astrological indications. These are my past experience indications. These are my socio-economic, cultural, and political indications. Let me build a case study." So each of us are worth being an actor in our own case studies, right? And what is case study? The life history, the professional history. See, the professional history is just a small part of our life's history. About 60%, fine. But if we have had a life of say 75 years, and if we have served for 50 years, that means two-thirds of 66% of our life history is donated towards the profession, right? So the lesson to be learned is that we can develop, redevelop, polish, repolish, refine, and re-refine our own persona. Why is it, why is it not, why is it not jumping, ma'am? What is the problem with this? It doesn't want to go to the next slide.
Sir, you make slideshow.
I made a slideshow, ma'am. Shall I again stop share and reshare?
Yes, sir.
I think that will be better. It's very embarrassing, ma'am. Never happened like this. No, entire screen is not coming. Window, again it has come. Share. Okay, let me be in this motion only. I don't want to see myself on the screen. Okay, so personality development from an organized pattern. Whatever attitudes and behaviors that we encounter, whatever is our TBF, remember that it is trust, belief, and faith. It is trust, belief, and faith. Those three pillars, they come into our life very early. Trust, belief, and faith. You have faith in some God, you have faith in some senior, you have faith in some adult, you have faith in some superior. You believe something, right? Even your holy scriptures you start believing. For example, I don't believe into any other writings except Bhagavad Gita, because that is a belief I have. And then you develop a taste for everything. It's a cultural taste, sociological taste, economic taste. Very early in their life, these days people are going for startups. It's an economic taste, I would say. So whatever are this organized pattern, organized means it goes in a linear flow. On a plane, it goes very smoothly. So that makes you distinctive. If you know of the young boy Tushar, at the age of 12, he completed his masters. Why? He had a very, very, very distinct flow in his career, in his young childhood, that he wanted to clear masters at the age of 12, and then he cleared the IIT, and I believe he became a professor in IIT. I have not kept it about him. So whatever you are, and on the negative side, because when you talk of personality, you have to speak on both the sides. On the negative side also, people at a very young age, 6, 7, 8 years, and I'm appalled. I'm appalled. I must admit to my fraternity here. Some of you are my superiors and elders here. My own nephew, who is just out of his +2 college, has now started online gambling. It looks very nice when he wins 5, 6, 7, 8,000 rupees in the evening. But if this becomes his habit, if this becomes his life preference, and tomorrow he'll be a great gambler. He'll be a great gambler. And people want quick money these days. Young children, they are not dependent on you and I for pocket money. They say we earn our own money. How do you earn your own money? Online gambling, Papa. Your pop didn't know anything. Now my son knows what is online gambling, what is earn at home, and all that stuff. So all these attitudes and behavior, when they seep into one's mind, the mind is loaded with that. And the mind is so powerful that it rejects almost all the time the negative thoughts. But there are certain situations even when the mind fails, that is where you call he succumbed to his wishes. So this makes an individual distinctive, whether positive distinction or negative distinction. There's a background sound, please. Can I request the mobile to be off, please? Okay. So, Chena ma'am, somebody is speaking on the mobile. Can you mute everybody, please? Yeah, thank you. So all these things that seep into the mind like fog, the brain becomes foggy, and once the brain becomes foggy, your visualization effect is gone. You don't know what is good, bad, black, white, pretty, ugly, right, wrong, ethical, unethical, and you are bowled over by the charm of that negative things. Vis-a-vis, you are also married to the positivities of your own things. Like after matric, you decide to go for +2 science or arts, then you sit down for your graduation, then you sit for some competition. Then if you have a knack for teaching, you will go for a master's, MPhil, PhD, and there's a track. So right from childhood till you attain a profession, whether it's a positive profession like teaching or a negative profession like stealing, gambling, and smuggling, they all end with ing, gerunds, verbs. So the personality development is germinating from a very organized pattern, and it makes you distinct. It makes you distinct. Today, you and I, we are into the teaching profession. Why? Because we had a knack for teaching. We loved our teachers. We loved our subject. We developed the subject, like say management or forensics or criminology or whatever is our subject. And then, we became a student as well as an advocate of that. Okay. And the best part is that never ever In our personality, we have a very, very bad ingrained aspect, including me also. We always compare our life. Arey, what is this life? Yeah, had I gone abroad, I would have been that. Yeah. Why did I join the army? Had I joined the IPS, I would have been something else. Why did I join the teaching profession? I'm still a professor or a director. Had I gone abroad and come back after 10 years, I would have been straight away taken as a vice chancellor. Life is a big knot. It is just like a bowl of Maggie. You don't know which strand to pick up. And when you eat Maggie, you don't know which strand of Maggie you have taken inside. So never ever compare your life. Life has been a jolly good affair till now, right? So that is why the elders tell us count your blessings. Don't count your curses. Count your blessings. Your good health, your good financial standing, your good social reputation, your good technical reputation, your good professional or academic reputation, right? So people respect you in the morning when you go for a walk. People say, oh, look, here is a professor, here is a teacher, here is a director, here is a VC, or here is a teacher, my superior, my elder. So count on your blessings. In life you can't get everything. In life you cannot get everything. See our own political leaders, for example. Please don't take it on record. I know it's being recorded. Many people who have become deputy prime ministers, deputy chief ministers, or ministers, they were aspiring for the next rank, right? I retired as a deputy minister. I wanted to become a minister. I retired as a deputy CM. I wanted to be CM. I retired as a deputy PM. I wanted to become a PM. I retired as a PM. I wanted to be a president. Because human wants are unlimited. And what is human want? It is all flowing from the brain. Wants flow from the brain. They don't flow from the physical body. And what is that human want? It is aspiration with no perspiration. Okay, only inspiration. So, so don't compare your life. Life has been a jolly good affair. And see, today on 21st of September at this hour, you and I were interacting, and we are counting our blessings, and we are just enjoying our discussions or one-way discussion, what I would say. And secondly, there are certain things on which you and I, we have got no control, absolutely no control. Whether you say bhagyam, or whether you say my luck, bad luck, whether you say my kundli, or whether you say my astrological call. There are certain things on which you and I, we have got no control, and it's okay. It will come, it will go. So don't have any negative thoughts. Don't have anything. That is not the end of life. That is not the end of the life's aspirational curve, or the contributory curve of life. You have no control, leave it. If the floods are supposed to come, floods will come. Whether you have a dike, whether you have a wall, whether you have all the precautions beforehand, it will come. If there is going to be an earthquake, can you do anything? No, you can't do anything. Maharashtra gets earthquake every day, and any participant from Maharashtra, remember Koina earthquake. Did you know that Koina earthquake will take place? No. Haiti experiences every year earthquake, and the presidential palace comes down every day, and every year, and the presidential palace is repaired every year. I don't know why they have got the presidential palace on the fault lines, but in life, many things will come which is not palatable, which is not agreeable, which is not welcome. And we as a human being, we have a tendency to run to the palmist, the astrologer. I also go to the numerologist, to the tarot reader. Show me what is my kundli, what is my bhagyam. And then if he says something negative, we go for a second opinion like a doctor, isn't it? Why? Because it's all human aspiration and human excitement, I would say, in one word. But don't have any negative thoughts. If Shani Graha is going to be there for 7.5 years, Sadesati, it will be there, and we have to go through it. But at this time, with a balanced personality, always remember what Swami Vivekananda had said: "This too shall pass." PTSP. This too shall pass. If night comes, this too shall pass. Tomorrow morning, 6 o'clock, there will be sunbreak, and tomorrow in the evening at around 6 o'clock, there will be sunset. Can you do anything? Are you Sri Krishna with a Sudarshan Chakra? No. Today sun will set at night 12 o'clock. No. You have got no control. You have got no control. Saddest part, those who suffer from heart attack, or those who lose their life due to heart attack, or this corona, for example, it's very painful, We had no control. Doctors tried from the medical point of view, we tried from the own precaution point of view. But some of us, we lost our near and dear ones. What to do? very painful. So whatever is destined to happen, that is going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. uh, Things over which we have no control, uncontrolled variables, like we say in scientific terms, don't have any negative thoughts. Try to welcome negative things with open arms. If the negative things are gracious enough, they will not harm us. Otherwise, if they come, it's okay. But what to do? At the present moment, bindas. Have a gala of your life with lot of positive energies oozing out and with lot of energies oozing out for the positivities. So instead, invest your energy in positive thoughts, right? Whether it is profession, finance, whether it is your own family, positive thoughts. Because thought is one thing over which I and you, we don't have control over each other. Thoughts are highly personal, right? And when it is personal, the word persona is there. So thoughts define persona, and personality is nothing but persona. It is only noun and pronoun, right? Ladies and gentlemen, biggest national time waste indicator is gossip. I don't know why we gossip so much. I don't know why we gossip so much. There is a distinct difference. There is a difference between gossip and communicating. If you and I we are sitting and communicating to each other, communication are various types, but when you and I we are talking to each other, it is also gossip. Why? Because instead of homing on to a particular topic or to a particular event or to a particular phenomenon, we are just 360 degree chatting, gossiping and all that. And the gossip in verbal terms today has become digitalized gossip. What is digitalized gossip? Doing nothing, just scrolling. Go to the airport, go to Mysore airport, or when you return from Mysore, go to see Mysore airport. Family of three, all the husband, wife, and one child, all the three are facing three different directions and just doing. It is digitalized gossip. Something has come, somebody has written something, and you are supposed to comment, like Facebook. Okay, so this is digitalized copy. What? And it is the biggest national time pass. I'm telling you, it is the biggest time wastage. We talk of waste management, we talk of materials management, we talk of so many management, but none of us we talk of time management. And there is no policy in any part of the world where there is a policy or a regulation on time management. Why? It is left to you. It is left to you. Power of expression, freedom of speech. Okay, so okay, we have come to a stage where we can tell our next generation the pros and cons of this gossip, the pros and cons of digital gossip, time waste, right? Because we have already attained a persona of our own. Our model is fixed, and we can only reshape it as per time and situation and location. But our children today, they are so I would say SOS, slave of something that if they are browsing through the mobile phones or the cell phones, first and foremost, there is a difference between a mobile phone and a cell phone that we have to teach our children. And being technologists, I'm sure you know the difference. So these children, the next generation, has to be told that listen, these are the benefits of digitalization, electronics, and all this stuff which is coming, and these are also the demerits. Please also educate your children, the next generation, the demerits, because the way the children are now engrossed in all these cell phone and mobile phone activities, there is a change in the persona. They have become very irritable if you tell them to stop at night 12 o'clock. If you find them under the blanket doing all this stuff, and if you tell them it's time to sleep, mommy, I'm not getting sleep. Tell them you're not getting sleep because your brain is now loaded with unnecessary infructuous communication, information, data, evidence, facts, figures, and statistics for which you are developing insomnia. And that insomnia is going to eat up into your personal characteristics. Understood? So we need to tell them. And the biggest part is that Honorable late Kalamji had told, dream more while you are awake. It is not daydreaming. Remember, it's not daydreaming. If you have seen the movie Mission Mangal, what has the hero character told? Dreams are not that which you see during sleep. Dreams are those which does not let you sleep. This was late Kalamji's words, prophecy, so true. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you must see Hindi movies. You know, you draw a lot of management lessons from there. I see a lot of Hindi movies, average one movie per day in the afternoon, so that, you know, when you talk to somebody, you can give so many examples. Okay, now it's jumping. Yeah.
Sir, you just select the slide directly.
Yeah, ma'am. Now I'm
Go
comfortable.
fire the.
It just jumped. You know, your good wishes.
Yeah.
Okay. So a man today is known by a personality. I said, na, like when you walk on the street, when you walk in your compound wall, or when you walk on the corridors of your institution, people say, "Here goes a person. Here is a person." Like Three Idiots, Viru Sastra Buddha. Here is a person. Right? Here is another person, Chaturlingam. And when we go out, when we see statue, we say, "Here is Sri Sir C.V. Raman. Here is Sri Radhakrishnan." You know, a man is identified by his personality, what sort of a character you and I we are. And it is the totality. It is the totality, internal plus external, not outside. Uh, Smart, tall, handsome, and all that. No, it is the totality of the person, which it is A plus A union B. In Venn diagram, it is A union B, right? And in A union B, inside that U cup, what is that? It is your character, your traits, your attitude, your aptitude, everything. What all signatures you emit externally and internally? This is, you know, the thermal index of any personality. And I'll just point out your communication skills, the way you speak. It is not necessary that you speak American English, British English, New Zealand English, Pacific English, Singaporean English, Queen's English. Communication means I say something, you receive it and you interpret it and give me a feedback. That is the communication cycle. So the gist, the meaning, the essence, the philosophy has to be understood. Right? If I say Bay of Bengal, what did I say? I said it's the Bay of Bengal. I'm referring to the sea. But the first word, BA by Bay, is a bad word in Hindi. So what do you say? Bengal Khadi? No. It is the meaning, it is the philosophy. I'll give a very personalized example. When we met first at 2:30, I said, "Ma'am, you're looking good." So that was a compliment. If she was a negative, I'm speaking of the convener, if she was a negative minded person, she could have said, "How dare you tell me like this in front of 44 people?" So it is the philosophy, the essence, the motive, the meaning which, you know, comes out of through your language or literature. So that is also part of a personality. For example, I'll give you another negative example. You must listen to this. I will see you. What did I say? I will see you. A positive-minded person will say, "Yeah, we'll definitely meet, we'll catch up, etc., etc." A negative-minded person, what he'll say? "Oh, he said he'll see me. Acha. If I am alone, he'll throw stones at me or stab me or he'll kill me. Acha." So it is the intent. It is the intent what comes out, and it is the intent what is being received by you and what is being interpreted in finally. So everything speaks about your own personality, whether you accept it gleefully, gladfully, gracefully, or you quote it with some black coal dust and you say, "No, there was a negative intent behind that." And ethics. Ethics is the final word. Ethics, there is no discussion on this. You have to be ethical by virtue of being an honorable member of the society. You have to be ethical. There is no compromise on ethics. And whenever, I'll tell you, I was, same Atal series, I was once asked by one of the conveners, a senior professor, "Sir, would you like to give a talk on ethics?" I said, "No." He said, "Sir, what happened? Why are you not giving?" I said, ethics is one topic which should never be debated, not discussed, not communicated, not spoken of. Ethics means ethics. If you have a topic on unethical issues, tell me, I'll gladly sit and within 15 minutes, I'll come on air. Ethics is non-negotiable. Ethics cannot be compromised. As simple as that. Tell your superiors, whoever is listening to me, and tell your juniors and your subordinates and your peer, and in your organizations also, ethics is non-negotiable. Finished. All right. Now, make people like you. You can't be running like Archimedes on the street who was shouting "Eureka, Eureka." You can't be running on the road and telling me, "Oh, come, 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 like me, love me, like me, love me. I'm the best jolly person floating around on Mother Earth." How do people like you? How do people like you? Even if you're a negative character, still people will like you if you ooze out some positivity. See Lal Badshah? I mean, that Hindi movie by Amitabh Bachchan, Lal Badshah, right? Munna Bhai MBBS, glittering example, most hated character. He was a don. Slowly, after the interval, what happens in the movie? He's liked by all. People started resenting to the director also when he was being removed from the college. So, how do you make yourself available to the people? Become genuinely interested. You know, I can't go to the university today and whomever I know, yeah, what's up? They'll say nothing is up, all down. And if there is a person who is very happy, got a promotion, got an increment, got a paper published, got some award, reward, best paper award, if I'm genuinely interested, I'll definitely go and I'll hug that person. I'll say, hello, congratulations, I'm so happy for you, you know. I know there should be some warmth in that. Appreciably, there should be some warmth in that. Unless there is that element of warmness. uh, Suppose today you get a best paper or yeah, congrats. What is this? Yeah, congrats. Did was it forcing me? Were you forcing me to tell you congrats? No. Was I forcing myself to tell congrats just for the heck of it? No. There should be a genuine interest. And if somebody, God forbid, is suffering from some problem, some problem, what will be the nature of the problem? Sit down for 15 minutes, talk it out, talk it out. And if you are genuinely interested about his or her problem, the problem will get a bit lessened. In Hindi, they say man halka ho jata hai. The mind becomes lighter. Why? Because when you take part in somebody's happiness, the happiness multiplies. And when you take part in somebody's sadness, the sadness gets itself right. If I am suffering from a problem, it is eating up my entire mental framework. But if I discuss it out with you, and when either 2 or 10 or n number of people they come to know about my problem, some good soul might come out with some good solution, whatever it is, feasible, non-feasible, financial, non-financial, inclusive, non-inclusive, but at least I've shared my problem. So be genuinely interested in other people. All right. This doesn't mean that you will go and sit in somebody colleague's room and say, yeah, I have come to, genuinely get interested in you. No, it is the situation, it is the time, it is the warmth, a good smile and a good greeting in the morning. Remember, we Indians have a very wrong approach to life. We say that boy did not wish me. No, it is not wish me. It is in the morning. It is greetings. Okay, greetings. So if I'm genuinely interested in you, I'll just walk up to you with a formal salutation, sir. Yesterday you went to that seminar. How was the seminar? You went to the FDP. How was the FDP? Why don't you give us a small talk on the FDP, lessons learned, takeaway points, feedback and all? That is genuinely interested. If somebody has met with an accident, God forbid, you go to the hospital, you speak to the doctor, you speak with the relatives of the patient, and if the patient is, comfortable enough, you speak to him, you hold your hand, you hold his hand, anything you want. There are some people, by virtue of the economic status, they also hand over a small packet of a few rupees and all that. They say, don't worry, keep it. That's genuine. You should be genuinely meshed in the other person's state of affairs. Smile. Ladies and gentlemen, smile again is non-debatable, because a genuine smile carries all the literature in this world. All right. And even if you have a fake smile, please continue with a fake smile, because this fake smile one day will become a habit and it will convert itself into a beautiful purple smile. Smile is one you can win friends, kill enemies, and you can really, really, really rule this world with your smile. And remember, some smiles are infectious also. All right. Be careful of those infectious smiles. And we, as a human being, we always, it's human nature. What do? We only speak out I, the smallest word in English alphabet. This is I, isn't it? I, smallest alphabet, but it connotes the world's biggest attributes. It says only you, Have you ever asked about me? Whenever you come, you only speak about you, I. An eye for an eye. That's it. Okay. So be a good listener. There is always it's a trait, it's a habit to always listen. When you go to a doctor, what does the doctor do? When you go to a lawyer, what does the lawyer do? When you go to an astrologer, what does the astrologer do? They listen. Why? Via listening, they are trying to capture a few things. Number one, the facts and figures of the case. Number two, your genuineness. Number three, they're observing your eyes. Number four, they are observing your flow pattern of words, whether you're stammering, you know, stammering. And sometimes people have a habit of interjecting a word many times, like, And I know the why are you speaking then? People are observing the genuineness of the flow of communication from your side. And then they're making a mental appreciation of what you're speaking. This is again forensics. They're studying your face recognition. That is again forensics. Everything here is forensics and neuro and everything, eye tracking and skin conduct is everything. If you are sweating, if you are doing your, if you are all while speaking, if you are doing your tie knot like this, always, that means you are nervous. If you are sweating from behind the ears, that means you are nervous. If you are sweating from behind the shoulder blades, you are nervous. If you are buttoning and unbuttoning your shirt always, it means you are nervous. So they are trying to see the degree of your nervousness also, right? So be a good listener and observe, because listening gives you ample amount of time to observe. And when you observe, you are deducing facts, figures, information, statistics, data, everything, which will help you in case you are posed with a question, you are posed with a situation for a solution or an answer. And always encourage others to talk about themselves. Why? You learn, you observe, you deduce, you infer, you reach a conclusion, you summarize, isn't it? You try to know what sort of a character that person is, right? So encourage others to talk among themselves so that you are a good listener as a corollary. And as I told you, show respect for other people's opinion. You listen to somebody, he says, in my opinion, this, that. Don't ever say no. Well, sorry. Last 15 minutes I was speaking to him, he didn't say anything. So my entire discussion, my entire presentation has gone to the drain. With what? No. N-O. So respect for others people. Sometimes you have to agree to disagree, and you have to disagree to agree also. Suppose you are in a board meeting in a corporation, or you are in a research presentation, or you are in some discussion, or you are in a seminar hall. Your seniors will definitely come and speak. They will give some point of view and all that. If you are not in agreement with them, there is always a tactful way of saying no. You can say, sir, with your expertise and experience, whatever you said, I respect the version, but I have a similar, parallel, but not equal version. See, parallel is always, mathematicians are very shrewd. Parallel is like this, equal to is like this. Sir, I have a parallel, but not equal to version. May I please? They will never say no, because they are also on the learning curve. And, on the face of it, they might not agree with you, but when they retire to the chamber in the office, or when they retire to their homes, they will definitely say, okay, this person this morning told me about this. Let me have a try. Let me check. Let me read. So they read their minds. So respect for each person's opinion, because you don't know, from garbage you can create electricity. You may refuse somebody's opinion as garbage, but Japanese have been successful in taking out electricity from garbage. So remember that. And never say you are wrong. You are not Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwar to give one judgment that no, you are wrong. You can't say you are wrong. You are slightly off track. You are generally on the right lines, but let us put it in this way. These are some of the polished personality-induced communicative lines, And if you and I, we are wrong, we should be the first one to admit it. Why? Because before the fingers are raised at us, we have taken a recuse that, okay, I was wrong, I admit my mistake, my apologies, my unconditional apologies, and empathetically, the way others feel, or you feel about others or others feel about you. Had you been in each other's shoes? Empathy. Okay, it is different from sympathy. Empathy. Admit it quickly. Sorry, I was wrong. My mistake. I take it as a learning lesson. I will try not to make the mistake again. Don't say it will never be repeated in future. Okay. If you say, sir, I did a mistake, it will never be repeated in future. That means very soon it is going to be repeated in the near future, not in the future. Okay. So say, sir, I take it as a learning lesson. It was a hit and trial. It was an experiment. I failed. My apologies. I didn't intend to say this, and I shall remember this, and I'll try not to make this mistake because it speaks quantum of your personality. I'll give you a nice example. Do you all know there was an American president by the name of Nixon? Remember? Okay. So what Nixon used to do, whenever he used to write a letter to some president or prime minister of some other country, he used to call his we call steno typist. He used to call his secretary, press secretary, and he used to say, "Okay, I'm dictating, write down." So he used to dictate, and his secretary used to write down. And you know the President's Office, United States of America, Washington, this, that letterhead was there. Letter was there, and he used to sign it here. Deliberately, in the last line, last word, he used to make a mistake. Typographical error, what you say. He used to make a mistake, and he used to take out his pen, and the last word he used to correct it. He used to correct it like this, and he used to say to the secretary, "Okay, I have corrected it. Now seal it and send it." Earlier times there was no email and all that stuff, so they used to send it by air mail or surface mail, preferably air mail. One day the lady secretary, with enough breaks in her voice, with one word per minute, she said, Honorable President, sir, Mr. President, can I ask you a very small clarification? He said, yes. He said, every letter of yours, I type it, mistake free, spelling mistake free, but deliberately last line towards the last word, you deliberately make a mistake, and that corrected thing, I can again retype it. But you put your signature and you tell me, okay, seal it and send it. Sir, why? What is the rationale behind it? President said, whatever was the secretary's name, Madam X. You know, when the receiver of this letter reads, he will be convinced that I have read each and every word of my letter, each and every alphabet in my letter. And there was an errata in the last word, or last word one word, or last word two word, and I have signed it. He will get an impression that I have, number one, I have read each and every word of my letter, alphabet of my letter. And number two, he'll be convinced that I don't waste stationery. Look at the very powerful philosophy behind this personality. He'll be convinced that there is no drafting or redrafting like we all have, I don't waste stationery. This will be the signature statement throughout the world. Look at the thought process of this personality. And in the army, what we used to do? We used to submit something to our boss. First draft, amendment. Second draft, amendment. Third draft, amendment. Frustrated, rejected. Then the pleasant message will come. Show me the first draft. Sir, here is the first draft. Okay, send it. Send it. So, personality differs. What you do. And how do you begin all this? You begin in a very friendly, warm manner. It takes a smile to break all the glaciers and the avalanche in the Himalayas also. And if you frown, you cannot move a small dry leaf also. That is what they say, but anyway. And we were talking of empathy. So you must honestly see from person's point of view. Always have some empathy. Why is he behaving like this? What causes him to behave like this? In big organizations, people keep a watch via feedback. People keep a watch directly. Why is he acting like this? Why when he's asked to do a certain thing, why does he react like this? What is his problem? So you must honestly have an eye. That Shivji's third eye must be open, where you can know everything about your colleagues, about your students, about your support staff in the department, institution, about your seniors, about your family members, and about our wife also, lady wives also. she's also a part of the subject group. Okay, so this should be an honest attempt, honest appreciation, so that the real things come out. And it's a part of your personality. It's a part of your personality. What sort of a person you are. If you are dishonest, you say to hell with it. It is only me and my shadow. Amitabh Bachchan said, "Na, मैं और मेरी साया तन्हाई में बातें करते रहो तन्हाई में बात. Who is bothered?" But if you have a genuine affection, genuine concern for somebody, you must. Why not? Okay. Again, as I said, always begin with a praise and honest appreciation. Always praise. People like me become very happy when you really praise me uh, for anything, whatever is the case. When you praise for something, because everyone loves to be appreciated for a thing well done, well attempted, well tried, well exerted. And there must be honest appreciation. I said that, congrats. No, it is not, congrats. You must just walk up to him with open arms and say, hey, congratulations, nice. I would like to learn from you. Let's have a joint paper in the next conference. Let's pull in our mind. You are a person to be trusted with. You are a person to be relied upon. Can I borrow your shoulders and I can lean and put my head on your shoulders? That is the powerful medium. And I said you should be genuine in your heart, mind, soul, everything. But if there is a mistake committed by someone, please don't allow that mistake to be repeated by that person again. You owned up your mistake through apologies and everything. Please don't allow that mistake to be taking a repetitive form. Because if you don't check a person indirectly, discreetly, tactfully, strategically, not to commit that error, then that error multiplies, it becomes a habit with him, and that error, at the end of the game, when you do a summation of all the errors, it spells as disaster or catastrophe, right? If you are so pally with that, if you're so one-to-one with that, if you're so friendly with him, if he or she doesn't mind, you can directly tell them the phrase, look X or look Y, this is a mistake you have committed in my view, and which I perceive and the organization perceives. I propose you don't do this mistake again, right? So call attention to people's mistake indirectly. And before you criticize somebody, you are the boss, you are the HOD, you are the director, you are the vice chancellor, you are the senior professor. Before you criticize somebody, talk about your mistakes. Giving examples of your own mistakes and lessons learned is a very powerful medium for the one who is listening. If you own up your mistakes, if you give examples of your own mistake, and tell the people that, look, this was a mistake I committed, don't commit this mistake, because the backlash is very severe, or you will lose the faith and trust and belief of your superiors or parents or expected. So when you give your own mistakes as examples, they serve as a very powerful medium of communication, lessons learned, lessons driven home. All right. And on a lighter vein, don't say that I committed the mistake of marrying my wife. Backlash will come from your family itself. Okay. So ask questions before giving orders. This is what we practice in the army, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. In OB, those of you, if you're from the world of HROB, they say person job fit, person organization fit, and person environment fit. And if somebody has read Karl Marx, which I have read, I don't know why I read because I was quite drawn to Karl Marx during my university days. To each according to his needs, and from each according to his ability. So don't give direct orders. Do this. You'll say, sir, I can't do. Do this. I'm telling you. No. Ask questions. Are you in a comfortable position? Will it be convenient for you to do this? Here we'll say either yes or no. If you bring a very lean and thin person and tell him, okay, pick up this weight and break the world record, he'll say, sir, I can't do. You have to do this. Don't give a task to your juniors or to your students or to your research scholars. I want this to be done by tomorrow morning. Be assured he will only copy from Google and print it and put it up before you. Because ask questions. Okay, suppose you have a research scholar or a PhD fellow or an MPhil fellow. Ask questions. Shall we do this? Are you willing to do this? Are you willing to spend 3-4 sittings with me in 6-7 days time? Can we finish up this review of literature by say 1st of October in 10 days time? It gives a sense of comfort and convenience to the other person who is listening. Oh, sir has given me 10 days time. He has faith on me. And he has also told me he'll sit with me for 3-4 days. Let's do it. Ladies and gentlemen, I would give you my own personal example. Two examples I'll give you. Yes, I have time, 26 minutes. One day, I won't say lady or gent, one person came from Jabalpur and told me that, sir, I want to do a PhD under you. And after I offered lunch because that was the lunch time. And then I asked what is the topic and what is the entire scheme of things. So I was explained in very clear-cut terms that I would like to do a topic on this, PhD on this, Jabalpur University and all that. And I said, okay, fine, sir, I'm registering. I said, okay, fine, I'll sign your papers and all. And then, you know what I was told? Sir, can I seek a small help from you, a small blessing from you? Small blessing, look at the word, phrase. I said, yes. Sir, I'm getting married and I'm going to Canada and I'll come after 2 years. So can you prepare the thesis? I'll just come and take the thesis from you. What do I do? What do I do? I was torn between ethics and unethical things. Had I told yes, I would have been richer by a few thousands that time. I told no, I was a loser by a few thousands that time, but I'm a winner today. 21st of September, I'm a winner. I never did that unethical thing. And I know of PhD students, I know of guides who never meet the student after registration, and after 2 years they come with a thick thesis. Sir, our thesis, here you have to sign. Rest, all of us know what happens. So, give your own examples. Give your own examples. I'm again emphasizing on this because it speaks volumes about your character, your persona. Encouragement, I have told you, always encourage the other person, inspire, encourage the other person, motivate the other person to speak, because when you don't have anything to speak, it is better to listen because he has got something to speak. She has got something to speak. And whenever the fault occurs, make it that it's so easy to correct. Whenever there is a fault in our radio, transistor, watch, vehicle, XYZ, electrical installation, electronics items, don't we think, oh, we'll send it to the mechanic, he will repair it. Oh, we'll send it to the operator, he will repair it. So make fault seem very easy to correct. Problem has occurred. There's a fault. Don't worry, it will be taken care of. It will be taken care of. It's so soothing to listen. So the other person who is listening, he said, oh, my problem is over because my problem is now being taken over. When we go to a Baba or when we go to a holy person, what do they say? Shraddha or Saburi. Wait. Under Sai Baba's feet, what is written? Why fear when I'm here? These are very psychologically soothing phrases. And why do you go to the mandir? Why do you go to the masjid of Gurudwara Sahib? Because it gives you some sort of a soothing effect in your brain, in your minds. Okay, so when you suggest something, see to it that the other person is very comfortable, happy, and he takes like a fish to water, right? If I am from the non-mathematical background and I'm your PhD scholar, you tell me to do an interpretation in mathematical terms, ladies and gentlemen, my innings is closed. I cannot do it because I'm seeing some English literature papers wherein the poems of Wordsworth and Shelley, Keats, Shakespeare being interpreted in mathematical terms. Very nice, isn't it? We took MA honors, we took MA English. Why? Because we didn't want to follow mathematics. We hated mathematics. But now research papers are being written in mathematical notations, equations, algebra, calculus, trigonometry, so many things. Poems are being described in mathematical notations. Never thought of, never heard of, but now seeing. All right, see all the papers. Okay, so best part is that just live each day. Yesterday is gone, today is undergoing, and tomorrow it is likely to come. It's forthcoming. If we get up from deep sleep tomorrow morning at 5 o'clock, I get up at 4 o'clock. So if I get up, it's a new birth, new day. So just live each day. Why crib? Ask yourself that if I don't solve this problem, what will happen? What will be the cascading effect? What will be the aftermath? What will be the result? What will be the carry back points? Because there is a problem. If I don't solve it, then that problem is going to multiply. In English, they say stitch in 9 saves time. So in time saves 9. So please don't allow problems to mount, because problems are insurmountable if they surmount on you. But solutions take care of all these problems, right? So that's how you have adjusted your mind, your personality, your approach, your behavioralisms, your cognitive approach to all these problems. And this is it. This is it. Have the mentality to accept worst if necessary. So what I told you, if problems are supposed to come, they will come. If they're going to pound on you, they will pound on you. If they overcome you, they will overcome you. You know, you have got no gati, no rasta, no path. You try as a human being, but if it has to come, it has to come. If it is so, so it is. If it is so, so it is. All right. So remain mentally agile, mentally prepared to accept problems if they come. So what? Always remember Swami Vivekananda, this too will pass. So what? Time is the best healer. So the worst will come, the worst will come, and since you have mentally agreed to encounter that worst, it will not be a cakewalk, but at the end of it, you can walk with the cake, right? It's not a cakewalk, but you will walk with the cake because the fruits will be okay. It came, it's gone. It came, it saw, it conquered, and it is now gone. All right, so nothing to worry, nothing to worry. How much time is left? 20 minutes, right? So what are some of the techniques? All of us have encountered the techniques. All of us, we know the techniques. We have our own set of algorithms, how to proceed. We have our own software of life. We know how to run it. Okay, every time next, and it is loaded. So first and foremost, we should be aptly clear about the facts, figures of the situation. Remember the 6 W's and 1 H in OB, organizational behavior. Why, what, when, where, how, who, whom. Why, what, when, where, how, who, whom. So how? So how is the only word which has got H. Others are all W. And in a very lighter way, we say 6 wives and 1 husband. You know how? Why did it happen? When did it happen? Where did it happen? What happened? Finally, at the end of the W series, you have 1 H, poor man coming. How to solve all this, right? So get your facts correct. Do not turn a blind eye to your facts. Turning your eyes away from the facts means you have just created another arc for yourself for the facts to take the curve. Okay. Unless you have sufficient facts, figures, and statistics, do not go for any decision. Do not go for any conclusion because half of the worry in this world is because of this. We know nothing and do everything. No problems. Parvaille, I am here. I know how to tackle. Yeah, this is not a football match. Ball will come, you will kick towards the goal and score your goal. It is life. Life is a huge play field. And we are just, small players in that, microscopic players in that. Today, Corona has become a giant player. Right. So, first and foremost, you should see all of us, we have studied decision making in different forms. Like I studied in management, you must have studied in scientific terms, mathematical terms, technical terms. So unless you have sufficient knowledge, facts, you can't. You can't take a decision because decision relies on facts. And in decision making only we know how to prioritize, set weights, and also give weights and all that. So after carefully weighing all the facts, come to a decision. Remember, we never come to a decision. We come to a near decision or a near likely optimal decision. Because given another alternative, substitute or complementarities, we generally give a thought whether our decision was correct or wrong, and then again we try out in trying out some other alternative for a decision. Okay. So the best part is that whenever, as a human being, as a family member, as a member of the organizational family or our own family, biological family, whenever we have problems, write down the problems. When you write down the problems and you just think over it, ponder over it, many reflections come to your brain. And those reflections aim to give a better vision through your eyes. And reflections plus eyes, they allow you to breathe properly. And when you get inputs through your ears, after all these actions are done, your mouth gives out some output. And when it's helping you to solve the problem, there's a glow in the face. Everything takes here only. Right? So write down what is the problem, what is the cause of the problem, what is the problem, what is the cause of the problem. We have all studied, causation, root cause analysis, cause effect linkage, and all that stuff. then what are the best possible solutions? Here is where your maturity, your personality, your cognitivism, your positive affect, they all come into play. Write out all the positive possible solutions, and finally, after them, use your brains, sit with your close confidence, and try to work out the best solution. What can be done, at least at this point of time, and never ever put this picture into your brain. Never ever put your hand like this. Arey, my whole world is lost. No, absolutely not. If your whole world is lost, you are not a strong person, right? So, how do you craft a good personality? First and foremost, never ever copy anyone. Okay? Have your own signature value, have your own social thermal value. When you walk on the streets, who's out with confidence? I am I. Right? So don't copy anybody. You may copy only the external things, but internal things you can't copy. This is not Control C, Control V, and Control P. It is Control I and Control P. Control I have to control myself, and Control P is I have to control my personality. Right? So don't be loud, nothing to brag about. You should know when to speak. Okay. In the meetings, you must have seen a few Kin Kumars. Every time they'll raise their hand, sir, I have a point, I have a point, I have a point. Remember, they are all pointless men or women, whatever is the case. Sir me, sir me, sir me, sir me. Arey Baba, if everything you know, why didn't you come before the meeting and spell out everything to the boss? Okay. Never ever have the apprehension, and teach your youngsters, never have the apprehension or the afraid to talk to others. Sometimes they say, oh, sir, I'm only a PhD scholar, sir. How can you talk to the HOD? So what? He's like a father figure. Walk up to him. Walk up to him. Sir, I'm so and so. He'll say, yes, I know you. Or he'll say, yeah, good. Sir, I have a problem. Can you please help me out? No person worth his salt on this earth will say no. I'll tell you, when I was doing my PhD in economics, I was at IIT Kanpur. I was there for a short term. Uh, I was drawing lessons. I was taking help from a professor of civil engineering. I have no problem saying Professor Prabal Das Gupta must have retired by now, I'm sure. I was taking help from him. I was walking up to the director, sir, you are a professor in this field, you have got some expertise, can I please borrow some knowledge from you? They never said no. I used to sit on the floor, they used to sit on the chair or the sofa, I used to just write down. So always encourage people to talk and never ever say visiting hours 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock. Professors, 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock. Lesser mortals, 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock, PhD scholars. You and I, we belong to the teaching fraternity. Transaction of knowledge, transshipment of knowledge is the only onus that we have on ourselves. That is our bounden duty. So if you are a person with a good personality, you are open to everyone with a warm smile and a genuine smile. You welcome everybody. So what? If some research scholar comes and says, sir, can I meet you tomorrow? Yeah, come at 1 o'clock. I'm free. We'll discuss. And if there is a meeting with somebody in your department, you can coolly say, sorry, my student is coming. I am here because the students are there. We are here because the students are there. Students' problem is number one problem for me. Student is number one priority for me. And see how popular you'll be among the students. Meeting with your staff can take place day after tomorrow, but meeting with the student is required tomorrow, because tomorrow when you meet him and you give him some task, day after tomorrow or from tomorrow onwards, he'll be busy in the library doing his own research work, doing his own literature survey, something. Okay, the student is here for 2-3 years, but you colleagues, you are here for 20-30 odd years, hereafter till you retire. Death, resignation, or retirement or suspension. That is what the government says. Okay. Always have a sense of humor. There's a spelling mistake, let me correct it. Always have a sense of humor, because humor is the spice of life. If you're always sitting with a frowning face, red eyes, wrinkles on your forehead, on your chin, nobody will love you. He'll say, leave that person here. He always, shouts when we go. He always shows red eyes and he always barks when we go. Sorry. To have a sense of humor, you can crack jokes with your seniors also, with your juniors also, with the opposite gender also, but within the permissible lines of social decency. This is the regulation or the terms of trade, tricks of the trade. You can crack jokes with anybody, but within the permissible lines of social decency. See to it that it doesn't hurt as far as many things go, many parameters and variables go. You can also crack a joke along with the ladies or the girls also, but within the defined lines of social decency as is permitted. Right. Right. So be considerate, be smart. If you're kind, considerate, smart, cool, non-aggressive, you know, you are always welcome. Every time and everywhere you are welcome. And be executive in dress. This is one of the things we generally give a second class treatment. Wear something. I told you in the first, black trousers, red socks, black shoes, yellow shirt, green tie. There's a proper dress code. You know, uh, if you're in a business meeting, you have to be in a black suit. If you have a dress code, if you're in a social meeting, you can have a gray suit or a white suit. If you're signing MOU between two institutions, gray suit. Why gray? Because you do not know what is their dress code, neither white nor black. So you go for gray. Okay. And if you're in the evening, you have to define. I'm talking to the lady participants also with respect. If there's the evening party, then you have to, you know, first check back from the host whether a Western attire is okay or an Eastern attire is okay or a heavy sari. What is the dress code? If it is sari, if it is a function, religious function, you can go with your South Indian saris like Pochampalli and all that. But if it is a birthday party or if it's a promotion party of a colleague, you don't have to wear such heavy saris and go. There is always a dress code as appropriate for any occasion. So it is always better to check from the host because the host is so dear to you that he or she has invited you, isn't it? So you can check back from the host. Forget army. Whenever there's an invite in the army, even if I have to call my boss for dinner, bottom left I write dress code. But we usually write what? Comfortable. But comfortable is not a dress code. I will say I'll come to this Atal FDP wearing Bermudas and Hawaii chappal and loose t-shirt. That is comfortable also. And there is always a difference between a formal and an informal dress and a casual dress, summer, winter, and rain. There are so many dress codes that again is another FDP 2 hours. And finally, before signing off, I would like to say is that create your own signature value, create your own personal style, be a distinct persona, have your own signature in this society, in this organization, in this world. Let people, after we retire, wherever we are supposed to retire, let people remember that here was a person with this and this persona. Why do we ever, people like Mahatma Gandhi and Patel, Sardar Patel, and people like XYZ? And why do we wish not to remember people like ABCD? Why? Because it was the personality which left a pressing impression on our brains, on our minds, isn't it? So always do that. So what are the roots? Last but one slide. Don't worry, ladies and gentlemen. I'll finish in 8 minutes. I've rehearsed. What are the roots? Roots are your own attitudes, your own behaviors, analysis of your own character, what sort of a person you are, right? How you solve your problems, how you walk with two sticks and a rucksack on your back, right? How you adjust with others, that's very, very important. Flexibility, malleability, ductility, whatever is the case. This is very, very, very important, which majority of us have, but majority of us don't have. Also, independent thinking. Sir, whatever you say, sir, I'll do it, sir. Why, whatever you say? Whatever he's saying, accept it, but have your own style. Independent thinking. God has given you a brain, right? And every organization have the freedom to work as well as facilitate the freedom to work. Even if there is a young, fresh junior lecturer coming, give him or her the freedom to work because the lecturer of today is the professor of tomorrow. The lecturer of today is the professor of tomorrow, and the professor of today was a lecturer yesterday. This is time, Samay Kal Chakra. Okay. Takes a very, very, very powerful energy to list your bad habits. You must have the guts to say the bad habits. I smoke, I drink, I yell, I shriek, I steal, I resort to shortcuts. I'm not flexible. I don't like ladies. I don't like men. We all have bad habits, either by birth or by personality development or by your actions or by your reactions or by your observations or by your experiences. We all have bad habits. Have the guts to own them up. Have the guts to recognize them. What sort of a pattern of bad habits you have? Pattern recognition, what you speak. You're all from technology world. So have the guts to remember the pattern recognition of your bad habits, because that gives an image of yourself, and image interpretation will always help you to get rid of them. Have the tendency to get rid of them, right? If you're smoking, drop it from today, right? If you're drinking, break it from today. And as I told you, never say that you are wrong, and always have time for prayers. Prayers, they're real. This is a very personal point. Whether you're a theist or an atheist, I leave it to you. I should not be debating on this. Have some time for prayers. Have a verbal communication with whomever you wish to. See, prayers do not mean only to gods and goddesses and big mandirs and big masjids and all that. No, prayers also mean talking to your departed ones. God forbid, parents, wife, children, anybody. Talk to them also. Right. So the signature statement at the end of this FDP, ladies and gentlemen, with 6 minutes to go. Personality development is nothing but a tool. It's a tariqa, it's a technique, it's a methodology, how you progress. Like you have tools, statistical tools to do your statistical analysis, data analysis. So it's a tool. It's a tool to take care of the SPSS processing of our lives. And it helps to realize our capabilities. You know, all of us, we are wearing a cap. This cap, what we call cap. What is cap? Capability, ability, and potential. CAP, cap. Capability, ability, and potential. So it helps us to realize our cap, our capabilities, abilities, and potential, along with our shortcomings. And as I told you, it helps us to recognize our strength, bold enough, and it makes you stronger, happier, and more positive. It makes you very happy, strong, and positive, because you are now an independent, unique identity, an individual with your own crafted persona who is walking on the streets of life. Right? Tell your children when you go home. Tell your children when you go home. Tell your spouse when you go home. Tell your near and dear ones when you speak to them. That create a stronger, happier, and a positive life for yourself by chiseling your own characteristics, by chiseling your own. I would say in one word, be the Michelangelo of your life, be the sculptor or the architect of your life. That is how it developed. So, still have 4 minutes to go. On a happy note, thank you very much. It was really a pleasure speaking to you all. I can't see any of the faces. It's okay. It's a digital world. I hope my message has been conveyed. I'm just 53. I'm sure some of you must be elder to me. Sorry if I have told something off track. Madam Chetama is having a smile. She'll rebuke me tomorrow, I know. Anyway, and it was nice. And thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much for this lovely afternoon, culminating into a nice evening.
Sir, shall I ask participants if they have any questions?
Yeah, please, ma'am. No questions. Any clarifications?
Yeah, clarifications.
All are elder to me. All are elder to me, and the juniors, they are afraid
No, sir. Unlike that.
Juniors are afraid to open the mouth in front of the seniors.
Any
Don't
questions?
Any,
Thank you, wonderful session. Sir, I have a question.
No, you can WhatsApp it up to me. Okay, ma'am. Please.
Sir, what's made you to study so much? Like you have so many degrees. What made you? What's the motivation?
Can I crack a small humor?
Sure, but I want to answer.
I know. I was preparing for the last 24 years to meet you today. That's why I was studying. No. I'll tell you what happened. It's a beautiful case study, I would say. We can write a case study of this. Till matriculation, I was not at all a good student due to situational factors, long joint family, lot of sound and noise at home and all that stuff and all that. Matriculation, when I got a decent first class, then I thought that this, studies within my grasp, and like a traditional family, intermediate, BA, MA. After MA, I wanted to join a job, and then I got a job in Secunderabad. My parents were posted there. And fortunately or unfortunately, in that time there was one paper called the Enadu in Telugu, Enadu. That was way back in 1989. Central University had Central University Hyderabad had advertised for MPhil Economics and MPhil Regional Studies. MPhil Economics, I sat down for the entrance test of both the subjects, got call-up letter for interview in both the subjects, attended both the interviews. I was 24th in India in MPhil and for MPhil. And in regional studies, I was first class. I was merit number one all India, and I got a scholarship of 1,800 rupees, and that was a very princely amount, you know. And man, what happened is that when I was doing my MPhil, I developed a love affair with academics. They said that in regional studies there are 3 seats: one from sociology, one from anthropology, one from economics, and you will be given a degree in your own subject. Said nothing like it. Great, okay. And that was a love affair I did, and hostel. We were staying in the hostel. You know, hostelers mentality. CDS, combined defense service, came, and all 22 of us, we put all our applications in one envelope and we sent it. Sitting arrangement, all the 22 of us were in one line. And fortunately, God's grace and blessings of elders here, I was the only one who got selected for army. Uh, and I was, slowly I was drafted into the Army Education Corps. I did my PhD. First PhD, I was on top of the world. Young army officer getting a PhD. And in the last pages, we have that issues for further research, isn't it? I said, why should others do that research? Nobody will do, because thesis will go into the library, cockroaches will eat it up and all that. I said, those issues, I will again do it. So again, I did a PhD on that. Again, issues came. I said, no more. That again, I will do. And after that, in the meantime, I took a sabbatical for 2 years from the army, and I did my MBA. MBA. I was 36 years young. And then I said, PhD, enough. 3 is enough. Then I started my DLEAD series, same. Then I came in contact with Professor Daniel Kahneman, Nobel laureate. He baptized me into this world of neuromanagement, neuro decision making, and all that. He introduced me globally to other people, and in the bargain also I started publishing papers and all. Heart of heart, last 20-25 years I was preparing myself to jump into the civil world, academic world. So papers, books, publications, seminar, FDP, MDP, conferences, symposium, colloquia, talks, abroad, everywhere. Liaison with UGC, AICTE, all your NIRF, NBA. I started, by virtue of being a faculty in the army, I started doing all this. And the best part, I was talking about time management. You know, in the army, what is your working hour in your JSS university? 10 to 5?
Yes, sir.
Very good. In army, it is 4 hours. 9:30 to 1:30. Next 20 hours, you can while away, you can do whatever you want, go to clubs, go to girlfriends, go to bar, go to shopping, go to movie, or do whatever you want, but 9:30 to 1:30. There I decided I will make use of this time to study. And when you go into new areas, like you have done a paper on eye tracking with a Chinese professor, isn't it? That finds a place in my reference list also for my 6th DLEAD in psychology, which I have just submitted 3 days back. That finds a place. Professor Chen, if I'm not wrong, 4 letters.
Professor Yan. Actually, I can't pronounce full name. Professor
Yeah. 4 alphabets, isn't it?
Yeah.
And he was with University of Texas, if I'm not wrong.
North Texas.
For some time.
No, North Texas. University of North Texas.
That is what I told you, Texas. So slowly, when you enter into new areas, coming from economics, getting married to management, and from management, taking divorce from management, going to neuro management, certain things. Then I developed a love affair with hematology. I'm not a science student. From +2, I'm only arts only. Developed hematology, eye tracking, bringing about a link between sweat conductance, all these neuro parameters. It's a different world altogether. So I decided to break free myself from normal management, general stream of things. So 20 years, 25 years, I was just preparing, publishing papers and all that. So that was a love affair. That was my personality. What do you do?
Is there still what you want to do?
Ma'am, 2 days back, I have submitted my 6th DLEAD thesis in psychology to Mangalore University.
And you are writing one more thesis and submitted?
Submitted 3 days back, 6th.
What is,
Quick,
what is your next plan, sir?
beg your pardon?
What is your next plan? Future plan. Next.
I have just taken a voluntary retirement from the army 3 months back. I want to join a good B school. Can any of the audience here recommend my name for a B school? I want to join a good B school because I want to join a good B school in the sense where I can have some independence of working and classes and all that is okay. I want a good platform actually. I'm searching for a good platform and ethics is one of the prime parameters in that, So, not that you sign me for 1 lakh and you pay me 20,000 and make me sign on one. Those things I don't like. With my pension, I'm happy, but my mind is still fertile and itching to join a good B school. That's why I asked you, can I join JSS? You said no. Thank you very much. Tomorrow, when I open a university, you can come and join me as my. So that was on the lighter side, but yes, my plan. I have already written 4 books on neurohematonomics. My last one and my present book I have signed up yesterday only with my publisher. That what is that called agreement. It's on cardionomics. How you decide from the heart, not from your brain. In Hindi they say na dil se socho, dimag se mat socho. So that dil se socho is cardionomics. So I'm working. Let's see how far I'm successful or unsuccessful. Let's see. It's a gamble.
Sir, one more question, if you don't mind.
I'm not.
I'll explain a situation. Something like one student will come to you. Okay, he is not a very good student at studies. Okay, can you make him to study? Not like you, at least. Can you orient him to towards studies, and can you encourage or can you motivate? Can you change him, like to achieve something in studies?
Yes, ma'am. When
How long it takes, and is it possible or not? Can
It
you
will take- it
anybody
will-
can change anybody?
ma'am, let's have a deal. You send me that person, that boy. It will take only 3 sittings. Three
Okay.
sittings. SITTINGS. 3 sittings. See, when you talk to a person, first and foremost, remove all the distractions around you. Like you and I, we are speaking. Remove all the distractions, telephones, calling bell, sit in an isolated, secluded place. And when you talk to a person, speak to 3 parts of that person. When you address a person or in the class when you speak tomorrow, address 3 portions of that person: heart, soul, and mind. When you are talking to that boy, case study, when you are talking to that boy who is not good in studies, you want to make him first try to find out from him as to what are the reasons for which he is not able to cope up with his studies, cope with his studies. He might be having some cultural problem, social problem, economic problem, physical problem.
And genetically,
Ma'am, that is one thing we should not discuss, but I'll tell you, I had in IAS Academy, I had a student of mine in Missouri. She was India's #1 topper, but differently abled. And you talk to that lady, ma'am, the way she speaks, she can bowl out any of academicians in this world. See, if it is genetically also, that can be addressed. That can be addressed. There are psychometric tests to find out from this aspect, genetic aspect, what is really affecting him and what corrections can be done. You have to, if required, you can take help of a psychiatrist, or a good counselor, a good guidance fellow with backdrop in psychology. And it always pays when you sit and first listen to his version. There might be some cause. Number one. Number two, once you have identified it takes only one discussion to identify whether it is 5 minutes or 5 hours. One discussion. Second, when you know about his problems in the second sitting, discuss with him your blueprint, discuss with him your game plan. Now, how are you going to play the game with this problem? And third sitting onwards, try to keep him on track. He should be on an observational track. And ma'am, there is nothing in this world, a young child or a young boy or a girl can't accept and can't change. Everything can be done. I'm sure some of us have already undergone through that problem. Yes, we have tackled that problem. And tomorrow, if this question of yours is really hinting or identifying a certain character, please put him on to me through Zoom or Google Meet. I'll speak to that person or that boy or that girl, and really we can.
I don't have anybody such, but I just asked you how you
No, no,
deal
no.
with
I'm telling you, tomorrow, you might be encountering somebody in the society like this. Some mother or some parents may come to you.
because in many a times we see people, we cannot change them, right? So we just walk away from the situation
You
sometimes.
you can't change somebody. You can't change. You know, my thumb is so hard. You can't change me.
Yeah,
You can mold me. You can mold me, because I'm ductile. I'm malleable. You can beat me into shape. You can beat me into shape. I'm flexible. Even if I'm rigid, you can break off this rigidity. After all, it's so easy to play around with human psyche and human psychology. You can. You know, the, okay, I'll give you one example. When I was doing MA, my front door roommate, useless character, till night 11 o'clock, he used to sit in front of the girls' hostel culvert till the last light was switched off. Evening 4 o'clock, he used to go and sit in front of the girls' culvert, and if any girl used to say, "Why are you sitting?" he'll say, "Tu jana, what is your problem? I'm sitting." When he was doing MA, he told one of his young lecturers, "I would like to marry you also." Full vagabond, right? 11 o'clock, he'll come back to his room. Till night, 3 o'clock, he'll study. 3 o'clock, he'll sleep, get up at morning 9 o'clock, brush his teeth, no bathroom, no bath, nothing. He'll go to the class and attend the class and come back. Ma'am, first class first, he's now an IS officer. He's now an IS officer. What do you do? Tomorrow he'll be Secretary Education. What do you do? You can mold, you can mold. You can't change. You can't change. I am what I am. I'm a stone man. But you can change me. You can chisel me.
that is true.
You can chisel me. I'm a stone man. You can mold me. I'm ductile. I'm malleable. I'm again telling those scientific words which is from your domain. You can see, sitting and talking to a person heart to heart, mind to mind, and soul to soul is very, very important, ma'am. You can really bring about a quantum change. You can really bring out no homeopathy, no allopathy, no Ayush, nothing. Only speaking and convincing the boy or that girl. This is the state of things. This is what you should do. Hint him at his emotions also. This is what your parents are, you know, aspiring for, looking forward to. Right? And you have a sister at home, you have a brother at home, you have got some problem at home, they are all dependent on you. Bring about an emotional controlled turmoil in his brain. I'm telling turmoil, not negative turmoil, positive turmoil, or a revolution in his brain. And look at the magical jump tomorrow morning he'll have. Ma'am, he'll be an asset to you. She'll be an asset to you.
Okay, sir.
Oh, you have got an Amma in your name. You are the mother figure to all your students in the class.
Yeah.
You can absolutely, ma'am, no problem. Now psychological studies by Carl Jung, CARLJUNG, Carl Jung and Jung Woo Park from
No.
Korea. They have come out with two theories now, two theorems. Eccentricity is the hallmark of a genius. If your own child is eccentric, if he's just jumping around in the house, breaking all your glasses and everything, he's a genius. And one who knows how to tell a lie, a Chinna Papa, if he knows how to tell a lie, he has the best brain in the world, because within fraction of a second he is able to cook out a story from his brains. Okay, and these are the two theorems that you should remember. Eccentricity is the hallmark of a genius, and one who tells a lie should be encouraged to tell a lie.
No, yeah, actually, why I asked this question is, I thought to ask you another question, so I gave an
Please
example
ask.
actually, and
Please
there are failures in the life, and how to accept.
Failure?
So how you accept those? So I thought to ask you that I asked with this question. It's okay, sir. I got the answer.
No. How do I accept failures, ma'am? Failures are a part of life. If you don't encounter failure, then whatever you touch will become gold. Every time, whatever you touch will become gold. Failures, yes, one has to accept it is how strong you are mentally, how strong you are even physically strong. You don't collapse in front of failure or you don't get an epileptic attack. Uh, you tried, you failed. That is a part of your destiny, your life, your game plan, your written on unwritten kundli. Uh, the biggest example I'll give you, it's a very emotional example. I lost my wife last year on the 30th of July. I couldn't save her in spite of the best medical treatment in the army hospitals and the best doctors in India.
So
That
sad.
is, and then it's all right. It's a part of life, ma'am. She expired at the age of 49, and it was triple cancer. So, well, we fought, we failed. Before Indian cricket team loses the world, Indian cricket team loses the last run in the last ball. They can't score. They fail. Hockey team. Hockey team is given a penalty kick by the opponent and they score a goal 1-0 and they take the cup. So it's all part of your karma. It's all a part of your destiny, and it's a part of your own doing also. So it's a big mixture of many things, and you can't blame karma or can't blame horoscope or that janam kundli or that astrologer or your own self. It's a melting pot. So failures you have to accept it because failure helps you. When I failed in one attempt, I tried to find out a way for my second attempt, and God has Ma Saraswati has been very kind. I'm so happy that I have reached my milestone, whatever I had aspired for, and I did not get a seat in Harvard, so I failed. I had applied to Cambridge, in fact, after my MA. I didn't get, fine, I didn't get, all right. And today I'm getting what is that? It's called guest lecture from Poland, your Oxford, your, what is that, Madison, University of Pennsylvania. I was not a student. I did not occupy the benches as a student, but I'm occupying the lecture stand. It's okay.
Very sorry, and
No.
it's very
In,
sad.
in chemistry, you have balancing equations, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you have to balance the equations of your life. And finally, in mathematics, you say LHS is equal to RHS proved.
So what I understood is you are filling the gap. I mean, in the life, the time you are filling with good, things. So
There is something known as a TINA effect, TINA, TINA effect. What is TINA?
no, I don't know.
TINA. There is no alternative. TINA effect.
There is no alternative. Okay.
There is no alternative. So TINA, TINA effect. So sometimes you have to undergo TINA effect and well, I'm in the tunnel. Tomorrow morning, I'll definitely see the light of the day. If I can't see the light of the day, I'll switch on my torchlight and see some light in the tunnel. Don't worry.
I liked statement you have written in your last slide that personality development is nothing but a tool.
It's a tool.
Yeah.
How you cope?
I never come across that statement. I liked very much.
Ma'am, it's from my own life. When I lost my wife, I could have easily jumped before a train and I could have taken off my life. I could have easily committed suicide. But when I saw my situation, my responsibilities, my commitments, so I had to harden my heart, mind, brain, everything, and life had to go on because I knew that tomorrow morning it will be again sunrise and tomorrow again it will be sunset. So, well, that was part of that. So, from that experience, I have driven this word tool. Uh, some people are very stubborn in their life, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Stubborn. So sometimes you have to be very stubborn in front of failures and hardships and such situations. You have to really put a stone on your chest and carry on. It's okay. It's okay. One lives with good memories and one looks forward for better.
And some participant is asking your email ID and contact number, sir. Please put in chat box.
Chat box.
It's a message. Can you do that?
Yeah, I'm just doing it. I don't know. Everyone takes my number, but nobody calls me.
Give
Nobody
the
calls me.
email ID and phone number. You just type and send, sir.
This is email ID and phone number is this.
Yeah. Even other participants, if they want contact details of sir, I am ready to give. Okay, sir.
Nobody after this MDP is over, everybody will go back to their respective places. Nobody. Nobody keeps touch. This is a sad fact of academics. Nobody keeps touch. I have nearly distributed 2,000 visiting cards all over India and abroad.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much for your
Yeah,
wonderful
thank you.
talk and your time and effort.
Yeah.
We learned a lot, sir.
Man,
Thank you very
when I
much.
come, when I come down to Mysore, I'll definitely call on you.
Yeah.
Thank you, man. Have a nice time. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. And dear participants, I want to give an instruction that you have to maintain attendance. As you know that 80% of attendance